Hello and welcome to the Kuriaknits podcast. My name is Erin and I'm so glad that you joined me here today. Usually we do more of a podcast style thing on this channel, but today I have gathered together some things that I think would be fantastic for holiday gifts this year. And if you're not thinking of holiday gifts this year yet, maybe you should be. I've been planning my holiday gifts this year since about July. I have been overly ambitious and I am giving everyone in my family a garment or garment equivalent object this year. So I have already started on some of mine. I am going to go over what I am making for my family at the end of this. But right now I have found 15 free patterns for you to consider to make for your family and loved ones this holiday season. So first, I would like to let you know into kind of the criteria that I was looking at while looking for patterns for this. I've seen other people do very similar videos to this one, and it seems like they found every free pattern that they can and put it on a list, whereas I was looking very, very specific for things that were of really high quality, things that were size inclusive. I've looked through all of the photos on Ravelry, if they exist, to see what it looks like on people. I found that for free patterns, a lot of the necklines look a little funny, and I just wanted to make sure that whatever I was suggesting to you guys, I have either done myself or that it seems like other people have done. So my criteria were as follows. I wanted everything that I'm suggesting to you guys to have at least 100 or around 100 people on Ravelry that have done it, have photos, and that I can look at and you can look at to see best fit. This is because sometimes free patterns are put out because the designer isn't as confident in them. Sometimes designs are put out and you can't tell that they're not fitting a variety of body types. Sometimes if they're free patterns, they haven't been properly tested, even if they have been tech edited. One of the things that I found was good to look at is the necklines on a lot of things. Sometimes the necklines look a little funky. They can look baggy or look like they're kind of drooping a little bit. They can look like it's a raglan that they're pulling at the sides. So I would say that that's something to really keep an eye on, is how the raglan or the upper body looks on any garment that you may be looking at for yourself or for knitting for others. The next criteria is that if it is for an adult garment, it needs to be size inclusive. This is because I don't want you worrying about seeing a pattern and it not being able to fit your family members. So all of the patterns that I've included here today are size inclusive. Most of them I've tried to get up to at least a 72-inch bust. I wanted to make sure that I have options for any kind of knit that you may be looking to do for your family. So I looked for a variety of designers, a variety of things. I'm going to list some of the designers that I had the most success with below, so that if you're looking for patterns that differ from the ones that I've suggested here, you can have some go-tos of who to check out first. Of course, you can look on Ravelry under free patterns, but it's a bit of a free-for-all. There's lots of people, and I tried to go with some trusted designers that I know make good objects. Even if I haven't made these objects themselves, I have made other objects from them. So, one more disclaimer before we get into it. I don't believe that knitwear needs to be gendered, but I have gendered my knitwear in this video, so think of it more as feminine versus masculine fits. And the only reason in which I did that is because I have recently had, I'm so sorry if you can hear what's going on outside. The windows are open because I am wearing a sweater and I would be melting if not. Anyways, so the reason I have gendered things is that I know the struggle of one of the patterns that I am making myself is a men's cardigan that I am making for my husband. In having gone through the trouble of trying to find patterns that would look good on a male shape or a man was really difficult. So please don't see these as gendered patterns. If you see a woman's pattern or a men's pattern that you think would look good on the opposite gender or someone that is agender, then power to you. That's fantastic. Please don't feel that you can only make the garment that is assigned to you based on your sex, but I am putting it that way if you know that you're knitting something for your dad or your boyfriend or your husband, or the other way around for your girlfriend, for your mom, that you have a timestamp to look at. That said, there are also timestamps down below. So if you're looking for a specific section, you just want to see what I'm making for my family, go ahead and jump to those timestamps down below. Okay, let's get into it. We are starting off with homeware. So I have two fantastic options for homeware to show you. The first is by Purl Soho. Purl Soho has some amazing free patterns on their website. I highly recommend you checking them out, but I honestly think that they cannot be beat for their homeware patterns, and so many of them are free. They often suggest Purl Soho yarn to go with them, but of course you can choose any yarn that you so wish as long as it fits the pattern. And the nice thing with homeware is it's so easy to customize. So even if you don't have the exact type of yarn, often the way that they're knit, you don't have to, because they start from the corner and go out. So the first thing is called the Tin Sealing Washcloth and Hand Towel, and it is these really cute washcloths and hand towels that have like a little loop on it. Sometimes you want to get something for a family member that you don't necessarily know their fit, you don't want to worry about them not being able to wear it, or they're not necessarily knit worthy in the sweater sense, but you want to give them a nice homemade gift that has that homemade charm. I think that hand towels and washcloths are a really excellent way to do that, and I think this pattern provides a little bit of interest. It shows that you didn't just whip up a garter something. Of course, I love garter stitch. Something I'll show later is completely in garter stitch, but this was a little bit more effort. I think that these would look lovely in the home, and I think it would be such a lovely gift to give someone. This pattern uses cotton yarn. I think cotton is an excellent choice for hand towels and washcloths, and it is in around a worsted weight, DK worsted weight. But of course, because of the way it's knit, I think as long as you're willing to do a gauge swatch, you can get away with something smaller or maybe a little bit thicker than that. You don't want a towel that's too thick, but of course anything can work. And you probably want to make sure that whatever material you're using for this is machine washable, because I don't know about you, but all of my kitchen towels go into the washing machine when they're getting dirty, and I am not hand washing those things. So I would highly recommend this pattern. The next pattern is the Chevron Color Block Blanket by Espace Tricot. They are also a company, or I think they're a yarn store based out of Montreal, Canada, that has some amazing free patterns, not only for homeware, but they also have some good ones for garments as well, some of which I will share in this video. So I think that they're another good one to check out. And this Chevron blanket is a lovely blanket pattern. I think it is with Erin weight yarn, so it's thicker yarn, so it'll go by pretty fast. But the Chevron pattern provides some interest. It provides an excellent opportunity for you to have some color play, so you can change the colors with stripes. You can keep it two-toned like their example knit has, or even one tone if you so wish. I think that this would be fantastic to give to someone as a baby blanket or as a throw blanket, or even if you're feeling ambitious as a queen or king size blanket for the bed. But I think that anyone would be thrilled to receive such a pattern or such an item with such an intricate looking pattern, even if it's pretty simple to make. Let's now go into accessories. I have 4 accessories to show you, more than the rest of them, just because I feel that most times, if we're looking to gift something, we're probably going to be looking to gift an accessory. And so the first thing is something that I've actually made. I made it for myself, not as a gift, but it is the March hat by Meghan Babin. And it looks like this. It is part of a series where they made hats for every month of the year, and I believe that all the patterns in this series are free, but I chose the March hat because it's one that I wear quite often. I put a poof on it. Poof is optional, but it has this lovely, very easy stitch pattern to memorize, and then I just did a twisted rib around the edge. You can also fold it up, make a longer edge if you want to, and fold it, but I just think it is a fantastic hat pattern. I think that if you took the bobbin off it, it would suit more masculine style as well. And it is made with worsted weight yarn. I made mine holding Drops Baby Merino held double. And yeah, I just really love the way that this hat came out. And I think it would look really cool with one of those little tags, those handmade tags on it. So I think if I was gifting it, I would probably add that special touch to it as well. And there's lots of different hat patterns on Ravelry that is free, but it's always nice, I think, to have one recommended. And I really enjoyed both the making, and I got a lot of wear out of this hat last year. The next pattern I have to recommend is the watch cap and mitt set from Purl Soho. I think this is a fantastic set to gift someone. It is made in a DK weight yarn, and it includes a hat pattern, which is in a ribbing pattern, and also some mitts with the fingers out, so that you can easily text, drive, etc. I think it's a lovely pattern. I've seen other people who I follow make it, and they seem to love the pattern as well. I have not had the opportunity to make this one, but I think it would make a fantastic gift knit, and the DK gauge makes it so that it's not too thick when you're wearing it, but also isn't so thin that it's going to take forever to knit. So I think that these would both knit up pretty fast. It has a whole bunch of projects on Ravelry, and a lot of people have had a lot of success with this pattern. The next set is another glove pattern that I've had on my list forever and have not got around to making it. This one would definitely take a little bit more attention as it is in a fingering weight, but it is the Pioneer Gloves by Kelly McClure. And they are a lovely pattern. It's basically a fingering weight ribbed pattern. Also has the fingers cut out of the top, so it's very wearable. And it goes quite a bit up the arm. There's shorter options, but they can go quite a bit up the arm, so that it also acts a bit as a arm warmer as well. My big thing with mittens is I don't want them being too bulky, especially if I'm out walking the dog. So I think that this is excellent for someone who may not want something super bulky on their hands, but still lives in a cold climate and wants to have something there to protect them. So this is something on my to knit list for myself in this coming season. But I think it would make an excellent gift as well. Although it would take a bit more time, I think it is something that's an alternative to socks, which I have not included in this video because I myself am not a sock knitter. So I don't want to give you advice on something that I haven't really done a whole lot of, and I don't think I could recognize a good pattern if I saw one. I am very green to the whole sock business, but I think that this is an excellent alternative for using that fingering weight yarn and to keep someone cool. And it also is something that you don't have to worry quite as much about next to skin. I know for myself, if it's on my hands, I have a lot more tolerance to some rougher wools than if it was on my chest. So I think that this is a really cool pattern to give to someone. And I think although the marketing very much gears towards women, I think that men can very easily wear this pattern as well and really love it. The last pattern is one that I have personally made myself and am mildly obsessed with, and it is the Bandana Cowl by Purl Soho. I have two options to show you, and both of them I have made within 2 hours. So it is a very quick knit. And this is what mine looks like. This is my red one. And the Bandana Cowl is just a cowl that has a point in the front and slopes upward. It is made using German short rows, and I wear mine underneath coats. So when you have a coat, say a coat that kind of goes around like this, it just peeks out the top, and you can wear it up to kind of keep your face warm, but also just keep it on. And I wear it all the time underneath my coats in the winter, and I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I wear it, as I said, all the time. So this is my red one. This was made out of a bulky weight yarn, and I've literally never put in the ends. But this was one skein of bulky weight yarn. And then, where is it here? I've got a pile of knitwear in front of me. Here we go. This is the one that I've made most recently, and this is using a worsted weight yarn and a mohair. And so it just has a bit of that halo. I don't know if you can see it there. And same idea, works fantastic. It's knit up on 6mm needles, so it goes by really fast. And I just love the bit of height on it. I love the way that it sits. And I'm so excited to add this to my wardrobe. So I think this is a fantastic knit for anyone who just needs a little bit more warmth in the winter, and I think it's so intensely wearable. When I first made it, I wasn't as sure if I would be wearing it a whole lot because I don't like the point. I would never wear it on its own, but honestly, underneath the coat, it is the most wearable thing I have. In the dead of winter, I never leave the house without it, so I would definitely recommend it as a gift knit. I have 3 more masculine patterns to show you. The first one is called Budding Warmup, and it is by Drops. I think that Drops is another place where you can find excellent patterns for people of all ages that are free, so I would highly recommend checking out their website. They of course always recommend that you knit things in Drops yarn, which is something that I'm a huge fan of. I love Drops yarn. It's affordable, and often it's next to skin soft. So although you don't have to knit these patterns in drop yarns, I actually really like Drops yarn. So I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're looking for an affordable yarn to knit for your friends and family with. So this first pattern is a all over textured sweater, but it is a raglan. So this simple interest will provide a little bit of knitting fun for you, but would also really look great in a sweater. It seems to fit the people who have made it really, really well. It's also made in an Erin weight so that you won't be knitting forever and ever on this thing. I think knitting someone a fingering weight anything is such a huge gift, but it's not something we always want to or have time to do. So I think knitting a sweater in an Erin weight is an excellent choice for gift knitting. And I just really like this sweater. This is graded up to a triple XL, so hopefully it'll fit all of the men in your life, and I would highly recommend it. And if you do end up making any of these patterns, by the way, please tag me on the Instagram. I would love to see how they looked on your loved ones. The next one is also by Drops, and I will just acknowledge that finding free men's patterns or men's patterns in general is extremely difficult. So kudos to you if you are a male knitter or you often knit for your male or masculine presenting friends. That is fantastic. So this sweater reminds me very much of the Anchor sweater by Petite Knit, but it's graded for men. And I don't know if she has a male version, but this one's free. So I highly recommend checking it out. It has basically a knit purl pattern on the top that looks like ribbing, but it kind of fans out on the top, and then the rest of the sweater is just done in stockinette. So I think it would fly by. It is in a sport weight, however, so this is something if you want to spend a little bit more time on a knit for a loved one, but most of it being in stockinette, I do think it would actually go by pretty fast, even in a sport weight, and it again goes up to a triple XL, so I would hope that it would fit all of your loved ones, and if not, I think that this one looks pretty easy to add an extra row of the ribbing pattern on the top and be able to adapt it for your loved ones. So if that's something that you're comfortable doing, this looks like a pretty easy pattern to do this with. The last pattern here is a little bit more ambitious, but stick with me. I think it would be an excellent cardigan to gift to your loved one, and it is the Hey Handsome Knit Cardigan. It is by Nicole Weiner, and it is knit in Patton's worsted wool, so it's more of an affordable wool is what they're suggesting, and that is a worsted weight. And worsted weight is the kind of wool that I think is most accessible to people, and I think you can get the most affordably, in my opinion. So I think that even though this pattern is quite cabled, I think it's very accessible to people, and I think that if your loved one was so lucky to receive something like this from you, I think that they would adore it. So this pattern really caught my eye because of the intricacies in it, but also because I think it's intensely wearable. It looks like the men who are wearing it, it's suited their bodies well. It also has a good size range. It goes up to a 4 or 5 XL, which is fantastic. And yeah, I think that this just looks like a great pattern all around. But the first one, I think that you could make into a simple raglan, but this one provides instructions for making it a little bit more interesting. And it is the Liveresque Cardigan by Espace Tricot, and it is a raglan style cardigan that also includes stripes. And they're very simple stripes, and it's a picked up neckband, button band, and I think it just looks lovely. It's a very simple cardigan pattern, but it's been made a whole lot. It goes up to a 73-inch bust, which is always fantastic to see, and I think it would suit anyone who wants to wear it. It's highly adaptable, so if you want the stripes, the instructions are there, but if you don't want the stripes, you don't have to do them at all. I think the stripes just give a little bit of interest to it though. You could do it in one color, you could do it in multiple colors. I love that there's so much choice to be made and so many options on how to make this cardigan. The next one is for those of you wanting just a simple raglan to give to your loved one. This one's in an Erin weight, so I think that it would be perfect for those of you just wanting a quick knit to knit up for your loved one, and it is the Warmup sweater, again by Espace Tricot. I think they have some lovely patterns out there. This is a raglan sweater. Again, I said it was an Erin weight, and I just love that that's a weight of yarn where you're not going to be going round and round with these teeny little needles. I think it'll fly off the needles and it will be a fun knit to do. It goes up to a 70-inch bust, which is fantastic to see, and it uses my favorite yarn, which is Drops Air, or one of my favorite yarns. You don't have to use Drops Air. I would actually recommend that if you're knitting for someone else that's not a knitter, I would use something a little bit more hardy. Drops Air pills a lot, and you have to be a little bit delicate with it. So I would actually recommend using a different Erin weight yarn, but if you do use drop Sarah and you're making something for a fellow knitter, I think it would make just the most beautiful sweater, and this is definitely on my to knit list now. The last cardigan is called Draw. It's by Amy Christoffers, and it is a big oversized cardigan that you pick up the button band. It looks so comfy to wear. It comes in a variety of sizes, and it has a little bit of a pattern on it to give it a little bit of interest. I think that this would definitely be a lot of knitting just because of how oversized it is, but I don't think it would be arduous at all. It is made in a worsted weight again, so I think it would go off the needles pretty well, and it looks just so warm and cozy and just suited to someone of any age. So I think it is a fantastic pattern to make up for your family. The last category I have is for kids. Now, I don't have any kids of my own, and to be honest, I haven't made a ton of kids knits. So for this category, I was really looking at what other people were saying and what other people suggested. And this would not be a free sweater, free knit episode if I did not quickly mention the Flax Sweater by Tin Can Knits. The Flax Sweater is graded for sizes to baby to adult. It is for people of all genders, all ages, and it is really fantastic to have a free pattern accessible that you can adapt. It has a little bit of interest on the shoulders. It is definitely something that I considered for test knits, or not test knits, for gift knits this year, and I would highly recommend it. Everyone who makes it seems to absolutely adore it. I cannot wait to make it someday soon. And if you are looking for something for your kid, something that you can knit again and again for a kid as they grow, or even an adult, I would highly recommend this pattern. The next one, I promise I did not pick because I am on a Grey's Anatomy binge right now, but it is called the McDreamy Jumper. It is for babies, it is by Drops, and it is done in their sport weight yarn. It is adorable. I think that the texture on the top makes it so cute. I wasn't as worried about the intricacies because they're so small anyways, and it just looks so sweet. The buttons on the side make it a lot easier to get around your kid's head, and it seems like all of the versions that I saw of it were really well made and included a happy baby, and I can't say no to the happy babies. So check out this pattern. It's free and it looks super cute. The last pattern that I found is called Skyscraper, and it is by Madeline Linderstom. Sorry, I had to look pretty intensely at that to be able to see the name. I didn't want to get it wrong. It is a DK weight pattern, and it is colorwork sweater for kids. The reason that I chose this is because you don't have to do the color work on this one, but it's nice to have the option. It is a sweater that you could very easily just make in one color if you so wish, but I think the color provides a lot of fun and a lot of interest, and I really like looking at it. So if you want something that's a little bit more intricate for your kid, for Christmas, for birthdays, for whatever holiday you may be celebrating, I would highly recommend this one. It looks adorable, and it comes from kids from 0 months all the way up to 10 years. So you should be able to cover your kid until they're a teenager and don't want to be wearing your knitting anymore, which is a sad day, but they'll come around, I promise. Those are the 15 patterns that I am recommending that you knit this holiday season. But let's go into what I'm making this holiday season, and it is none of those. First is for my husband. His birthday is actually in December. It's a big one. He's turning 30, and I have actually never made him anything other than the bandana cowls, which he sometimes steals from me. But I said that I would make him a sweater, and so I actually had him feel all of my sweaters to decide which yarn he liked best, and he chose one of my favorites, Cascade 220. I basically pulled out the page for him and asked him which color spoke to him, and he chose this navy color, which I think is lovely and will look fantastic on him. So I'm making it in Cascade 220, and then we went online. I picked out a few patterns, and he picked the most complicated one I showed him, which is very kind of him. And so I am choosing the Timberline pattern by Jared Flood. I have yet to start it, but it is an all over cabled cardigan. And Jared Flood makes amazing patterns for men. I think that if you're looking for something like that, I would definitely check out him. His patterns are not free, but I wanted to make what my husband wanted, and I definitely gave him some free options. I had initially planned to make him a flax sweater, but then he decided that he'd rather have a cardigan, and what's a girl to do? So I will be making this hopefully for his birthday, so this will be the first proper Christmas knit that I will be casting on, likely very soon, because I think it's going to take quite a while. He is a slimmer guy, but he's a tall guy, so I think I'm going to have to make it quite long to be able to fit him well, but I think he'll wear it a lot. He really likes his cardigans in the winter, and I am so excited for the opportunity to make him a wearable object. This sweater, we chose the yarn first, so I was looking for something in a worsted weight. This is worsted weight. It originally uses Brooklyn tweed. That's Jared Flood's company, so that makes sense. But I had him feel something that was similar to Shelter, and he was not a fan. So we went for something a little bit softer. That's something I would also recommend if you're making knits for family, to either have them feel out some yarns, feel out some garments, or to choose something on the softer end that you know is next to skin soft for you, but like above and beyond next to skin soft for you, because I think we grow a little bit more used to wools, and for some people they're just a big no-go. So also check for allergies. That's something good to check for as well. For my sister is 4 years younger than me, and she asked for a sweater. She said a cardigan if you can swing it, but a sweater would be fine too. And initially I just wanted to do a sweater because something in the round would be so much better. But then I was looking through my closet and I saw this cardigan that I'm wearing, and I was like, you know what, I can make one of those for her. I already have the pattern and I know I love it, and it was a really quick knit. So this is the Bandana cardigan by Sarah Nordland. It is in a bulky weight yarn, and it has this really cool tapering on the top here, but it's pretty simple, pretty boxy. I really like it. I made it near the end of last year, drop shoulder construction, and it was a pretty fast knit. So I was like, you know what, I'll make this for her. Then she'll have her cardigan that she wants, and it's in a thicker yarn, so that's perfect. So the yarn that I picked out to make it for her is actually the recommended yarn. This is not, and it is Drops Andes, and she had wanted it in green. So I got her this beautiful green color. This is in the color 7820. How descriptive. And it is a bulky weight yarn. This is knit up on, I think, 6mm needles, but I actually adapted this one to be on 8mm needles because I like the fabric it made better. So I might experiment a little bit with this one, but with it being the recommended yarn, I'm sure the 6mm needles will do just fine. This particular pattern goes up to a 70-inch bust, so if you are willing to pay for a pattern, this one has a huge size range. I knit the size 2, but I knit it on 8mm needles, so my gauge is a bit bigger. I'm usually around a size 4 in Sarah Nordland's patterns, but I really love this cardigan, and I think it would make a fantastic gift knit if you're willing to spend a little bit of money for a pattern. Next up, from my mom, she wanted a blanket. I have never made a blanket before, but she said you can make it with just scraps, and so that is actually what I am doing. I have made a whole bunch of patterns using Cascade 220 or yarns that are very similar to Cascade 220, 100% wool, on the softer side, worsted weight yarns, and so I have put them all into a basket, and I am making a blanket with them. So this is, I've actually started it. This is really nice knitting. So it's basically just going to be a straight blanket on the bias. So you start off here, you make it bigger and bigger and bigger. So I've just only started out. I'm knitting it on 6mm needles, and I'm kind of loosely basing it off of the rectangular color block bias blanket from Purl Soho. It is a free pattern. I will link it below, but I'm not using the same gauge or the same yarn that they use. So I'm basically just going off of their measurements and how they do the shaping, which is very, very simple. So here's my big basket of yarn. I have a ton of different colors to choose from. Most of it is Cascade 220, but some of it is a little bit random. This, for example, is Knit Picks. They're worsted, they're main worsted. Wool of the Andes? No, that was the one I just showed. This is a Knit Picks yarn. Can't remember what it's called now. This is also Knit Picks yarn, swish worsted. This is superwash, so I may not use it. I have Blue Sky fibers, in there. They're wool stock worsted, just all sorts of stuff. I'm going to try and I've got a lot of cool tones on the top here, but there's actually a lot of warmer tones underneath, and I think I'm going to try and keep it in the warm toned family if I can, if I have enough yarn for it. So I'm basically just knitting some stripes. So I'm going to change the color soon, but this is what it's looking like. I'm going to make it of throw blanket size. So that is the size that they have on the schematic for the Purl Soho pattern. And so I'm basically just measuring, and I will stop making it wider when I hit that measurement, which I think is 42. I think it's 42 by 72, if I remember correctly. So pretty decent size. It'll definitely be the largest thing that I've ever knit, but it's definitely not intricate. It's very mindless knitting, and I've been knitting a lot on very small needles, and so it's nice to have something on something bulky, 6mm needles. I would definitely recommend this pattern with any yarn, and you don't even have to gauge swatch because you start from the corner and make it bigger, so you can just stop making it bigger when you reach the length that you want to reach. And the drape on it is actually pretty good. One more knit for this season. The last knit I am making is for my dad. He just asked for a hat, and that is very simple. I am also planning to make him some mitts without the hands, or some convertible mitts that don't reach the fingers but can kind of flip over. And I haven't completely decided on a pattern for that yet, but I have decided on the hat pattern because it is my favorite pattern, and I'm going to be using the Muscle Burrow pattern by Isolde Teague. So let me show you all of the muscle burrows that I've made, because I've made different modifications on each of them. But I will show you, for my dad, I just got a charcoal color of Drops Flora. Drops Flora has both wool and alpaca content in it, so it's pretty soft, but it is also natural fiber, so it gives a bit of a luxury feel. And so for my dad, I don't know which kind of muscle burrow I'll make yet. I might feel it out. So this is the first muscle burrow I made. Muscle burrows are tubes that you fold in on themselves. So this muscle burrow I made, that is just kind of beanie style, a toque style, and very simple hat. The next muscle burrow I made is what I call a modified muscle burrow. So because it is a top-down hat, you can actually stop at any point and just cast off. And so that's what I did for this particular hat, because I knew I would not have enough to make it all the way. So I followed the muscle burrow pattern basically all the way down until here, and then I just switched to ribbing for myself. And I really like the way that this hat turns out. I might do this for my dad. It's just a little bit less knitting, and then it gives you that nice style, ribbing style, if that's something that you want. And obviously for him, I would forgo the palm. The last muscle burrow I made using some scrap yarn. So I've got this fun yellow bit on the side, but you lose the yellow bit when you tuck it in on itself. And I made this one longer than the blue one so that I can actually flip it up. So it looks like this. So this hat can be flipped up because it's longer, and this is how kind of the original muscle burrow was made to look. And it's in a bit of a thicker yarn as well. And I really like this hat for winter. It is so cozy because you've got 4 layers of knit on your ears. So I don't quite know what kind of muscle burrow I ended up making. I think that this is probably the nicest kind to knit, as they could also wear it slouchy like this, which I think is also a cool look. The one thing I would suggest if you are, sorry about hair, too much hair. The one thing I would suggest if you're knitting this is maybe actually knitting the 2 sides together so that it doesn't come apart like this on your giftie, as I think that this might be a little disconcerting if you didn't know it was knit in on itself. And the other thing that I love about this pattern is because you are tucking it in on itself, you really don't have many ends to finish it all. And then it also just looks so clean on the inside. Like, look at that. I've also seen people make it reversible. So that's another option as well. If I liked this McDonald's combination, that could be a cool hat maybe. So if you have someone that would like something maybe reversible, I mean, it could be a look. I don't know, not this one. This hat is also from baby sizes all the way up to adult sizes. So if you have someone that you want to make a hat for, this pattern is for you, but I will say it is a paid pattern. But that said, I've used it 3 times. I'm already making a 4th one. I plan to make a 5th, and I think this will be my go-to pattern for hats basically for the rest of my life. So I definitely recommend it. It is a good purchase and a fantastic pattern for me sold at Teak. So that's it. That's everything I am making this holiday season, and those are the things I recommend that you check out for this holiday season. Am I crazy? Leave it down below. If you want to see the progress that I'm making on these knits, please subscribe and subscribe to me. Follow me on Instagram as well, where you'll get more up-to-date content. I make podcasts on this channel, and I would love to see you in the future. And thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you're planning to knit this holiday season below, or let me know your holiday knitting woes. And I am so excited to see you in the next one. Bye.